Greetings. We have a short and lively agenda, so let me go ahead and start sharing.
Yeah, I was optimistic with chairs.
They're going to show up later. They're going to come all flooding in at like 6:30.
Time for the vote.
Yeah, or the Q&A. See what I say? Must have faith, my son. Okay, the Normal Heights Community Planning Group envisions a healthy, vibrant community that honors unceded Kumeyaay land and cares for all inhabitants. We prioritize inclusive and equitable land use, valuing people over commodification. Through pedestrian-friendly infrastructure, transit-oriented development, open space preservation, and affordable housing, we strive for a vibrant and sustainable neighborhood. Additionally, we promote responsible economic development that supports historic preservation, local businesses, fosters job opportunities, and enhances the overall economic vitality of Normal Heights. Today's agenda items may be addressed out of order as listed on the agenda, and time may shift. The chat entries are not considered official communications, even if to or from board members. But if you are on Zoom, please enter your name or at least some initials so that we have a head count for our metrics. And the proceedings are recorded and they'll be publicly posted on our website, usually a few days later. And the rules: 2 minutes per person unless extended by the chair. Stay on topic. Other questions can be answered offline. Our civic representatives are guests to be treated with utmost respect. Try to be as factual as possible. Share the space, especially for new faces, and I do see some here today. Anyone may attend from anywhere in the world, and we still don't allow horses inside. That is that. So let's move back to stop share. Let's move into the non-agenda public comment. Does anyone in the room have public comment? All right, I'll move to Zoom. Anyone on Zoom have public comment? I'm looking at you, Becky.
Yes, I do. I have a public comment.
Let me make sure. Let me make sure the volume's turned up. It sounded a little bit soft there. And let me make sure that.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name's Becky Rapp, and I just thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'd like to draw your attention to the recent discussion at the city's active transportation and infrastructure.
Hold on a second, I'm going to make one more change here.
Okay.
We couldn't hear you.
There, for some reason you were speaking out of our projector instead of the owl.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah,
That's
feedback
better, but let me get the volume up.
Okay.
Audio settings. Output and volume. Let's just crank that bad boy. All right, let's try that one.
Okay. Okay, tonight I just wanted to draw your attention to a recent discussion at the city's Active Transportation and Infrastructure Committee regarding Vision Zero and what it means for our communities. So Vision Zero is a public health commitment to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries on our streets. Lowering speed limits and redesigning roadways are important tools, and we know that speed directly affects crash severity. And when drivers are attentive and sober, reducing speeds can absolutely save lives. But as a planning group, we also need to acknowledge another major factor in serious and fatal crashes, and that's drug and alcohol impairment. Roughly 1 in 3 traffic fatalities involves an impaired driver. Speed management works best when drivers are sober. So if someone is impaired, a posted speed limit sign alone will not change their behavior. Impaired drivers are less responsive and more likely to speed and more likely to ignore the signals. So if Vision Zero is going to be effective in our community, it can't just focus on street design. Prevention must also be a part of the conversation, and that includes public education and thoughtful land use decisions and policies that do not normalize or promote impaired driving. So tonight, I recognize that this planning group plays an important role in land use matters, and that includes billboard placement and commercial activity. So one practical step to consider is whether advertising that promotes marijuana products aligns with our community's safety goals. So if we're serious about reducing impaired driving, then we should evaluate how commercial messaging impacts public health. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom for public comment? Then I will move, Jim Barros, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Barros. I'm a resident and former member of the planning group. I wanted to bring your attention to an opportunity, especially for making input to the now being developed and updated Mid-City Community Plan. And that is that there's, thanks to the development at San Diego State University, there's going to be a new bridge across San Diego River at the northern end of Mission Center Drive, which is one of the only crossings of the freeway from our neighborhood across. The development of that bridge will make a north-south connection across San Diego River to the Fenton Parkway roadway, the stores and the library in Mission Valley. And while this is in Mission Valley, there's an opportunity to, when the Mid-City Community Plan is developed, if we push for and someday get a connection down the hill from North Normal Heights down the hill to connect to Camino del Rio South, then we'll have an easy connection and actually a shorter walk from parts of Normal Heights to the library, to a San Diego library, than we currently have to get to the Kensington Normal Heights Library. That bridge is due to be completed by next fall. We're all looking forward to it as a pedestrian and bicycle and motor vehicle bridge. But I wanted to call your attention to it and as an opportunity for extended opportunities for travel from Normal Heights. Thanks for your time.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? Anyone on the board? Public comments?
Could I ask a question again?
Yes.
I had a question about that.
Yes.
I was wondering if he knows if such a connection were made, where would the bridge, what would be sort of adjacent to the bridge uphill? I don't know if he knows that, like which street would that align with?
Oh, what's uphill from the bridge?
I'm not sure I heard the question. She's asking what connects or where it is.
From the bridge, if you're headed south, what's uphill from that bridge to get into Normal Heights?
Generally 34th Street. And if you look at a topographical map or go hiking over there, you'll find that there is an existing formerly graded roadway almost all the way down the hill. It ends at a county facility. So yeah, it's up to engineers to figure out what the best way would be from North Normal Heights. But 34th is one of the accesses that could work. It probably, the grading would probably not be sufficient for a bicycle route unless you go downhill at 50 miles an hour and can make a 90-degree turn, which nobody can do. But it would be a great pedestrian connection, something like what's available over in Tierra Santa. They have a walking bike path up and down their hillside. I hope that helps.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I actually ask
Thank
another
you.
follow-up question? Jen, is all the properties at the end of 34th, is that all private property? Or is there an actual public right of way that could actually go down that hill? It's all private. It's all private.
As far as I know, the Carmelite Monastery owns that property at the top of the hill, but all the many, if not most, of the properties along the hillside own the hillside all the way down to the base. So anyway, if somebody wanted to further pursue this, I could provide maps and others at a subsequent meeting.
But the city would actually have to buy some private property to make that happen.
It might be a right of way. There's also,
Or easement of use.
there's also, SDG&E has an easement for their power lines.
Oh, okay.
So there could be a multi-use
It could be.
access there.
That easement at the end of 33rd for access to the canyon bottom would probably require a gondola or escalator.
I like the gondola.
Why not? Okay. Yeah, Jim, if you would go ahead and forward that to me, I'll make sure that we get that into our, into our meeting chain.
Okay, I'll provide some information later. Thanks.
Thank you. On the board, yes.
Can I ask a question? Or I guess my public comment. There is a trash can desert on Adams between the small little park until I think Ward Circle, or until Ward Canyon. Ward Circle is my PR agency. Ward Canyon Park. How can we go about making sure that there is additional garbage cans?
So this is between.
On Adams, like between the small park,
The rec center park.
yes, all the way to the Ward Canyon.
Okay.
There are no trash cans
35th to 39th,
along,
more or less.
on the,
Yeah.
on
Sounds
the,
right, yeah.
which side? This side, on our side that we're on right now, there are no trash cans.
South.
So, south side.
That sounds like something that would be in the Adams Avenue
Business
Business Improvement
Division?
District.
Okay,
Or we can try just starting with the get it done request and see what they say. At least they can refer you to how it would happen.
Yes,
so maybe submit a get it done.
submit it, get it done, and then send the GID number to Scott Kessler and say, hey, yo, and they may coordinate it from there.
Okay, yeah, just as a dog owner, there's a big drought, and so it'd be nice if there was another
Yeah,
trash can.
Or even a popsicle wrapper.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, any other public comment? And then moving on, we are now open the annual election for voting. I have ballots. You're allowed to vote if you're here and you are a resident, or you own property, or you own a business. Basically all the same qualifications for being on the board, and board members also vote. So I'll pass a bunch this way, I'll pass a bunch that way. Here's a whole stack. And we'll close the voting later in the meeting, but you're welcome to drop your ballots in this imaginary hat up by the owl device.
There's 7 on there.
Oh, okay, we have to pick 7.
Yeah.
So if we have anyone who's not qualified to vote because they don't live here, they work for the city or some other criteria, I would love to have a vote counter that is impartial. So if you want to volunteer as a vote counter, let me know.
Aren't there only 7?
Correct. Yeah.
It's the ritual.
People have done that, you know, I don't like all, I'll vote for the rest. Yeah, but because we had one open seat and then 2 got out and ended up 70%. Let's go ahead and move into our presentation. We have Jenny Hall and Tyler. Yes, from SDPD, here to take questions and give answers. So welcome. We have 6 people on Zoom. So if you're up in this area generally, so the little lens on the top can see you, it'll look up at you and they can see you. Yeah, so come on up. So, well, either in these, either bay, it's kind of in the round, but just know there's 6 people sitting on the end of this table.
I want to have your back for anybody. So.
Yeah,
Maybe like this?
Sure.
Okay.
And that's where their ears are as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Officer Jenny Hall. I think I know most of you here. I am the Community Relations Officer for Normal Heights and North Park and Burlingame. And I also have 2 other community relations officers in the city. We have a small area, but a lot of neighborhoods and 3 service areas for our division alone, which is probably the most, I think, of all the divisions around the city. And this is my new lieutenant, Tyler Doherty. He's come with me here. I know Paul invited us to come. I guess there's been some questions come up about ICE enforcement and how San Diego PD, what our role is. So I think, Paul, did you want us just to take, or have my lieutenant start off, maybe just what he talked with you about, and then take some questions from there?
And why don't I start off with just give us what your lay of the land and what's your daily, your top concerns, your top 3 on a general basis, and so we kind of get what the priority and what you guys are working on. Is it graffiti? Is it? I remember your interception here.
Oh yeah, that was graffiti related.
Is it just is there auto theft, break-ins, robberies? What's going on? What's your biggest worry? We'll start there and then we can take questions.
Yeah, that's kind of a generic question, Paul. What I can say is we have a really big division covering all the way out to college area, city heights, and so forth. So we have a lot of demands, and obviously we're juggling the staffing issues that we have with our agency to make sure that we can respond to calls and so forth. So obviously Normal Heights is part of the area that our officers cover, and we care about community concerns. So when concerns get brought to us, we address those. We get a lot of radio call driven type calls that we're rolling out because of radio calls and so forth. I know right now, with nationally, at least within our agency, crime is is dropping substantially, which is good. And so those usually come out through our monthly CompStat meetings that we talk with the chief and so forth. So we are always looking at addressing, we do deal with gangs, we deal with robberies, we deal with all the types of crimes that occur throughout the division. So obviously those priorities get focused based on what the captain wants, what the needs of the community are. We hear a lot from Jenny, our CRO. She feeds us information of where we need to focus on, and that's generally where we send our officers to do enforcement. Hopefully that answers your question.
Great intro. I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Raise your hand and I'll just call on you. Yes.
We requested several years ago to highlight patrols on east, west, north, and west Mountain View. And I have noticed that there's been a presence that wasn't there before, but it's splotchy. But it seems that when the officer is going by, he's got devices and he's looking at it. He's not looking at the neighborhood. He's not paying attention to what's going on. He's just driving and looking at his devices. Is there some protocol for what they should be looking for or what they should be doing? And part of that question also is the fact that the alley from Copley to West Mountain View is notorious, and I never see any presence there at all. Nothing notorious for people dumping stuff and hanging out there and so forth.
I'll touch on something really quick. I know I've been to this meeting and talked to multiple people throughout the years about, and specifically it was speed, complaints about speed, right? Speed, not stopping at stop signs. So multiple times I have asked for help from our motor officers. Sometimes they've been able to get up there. Just in the last year, I had a squad that went up there a couple different times during daytime because they worked first watch. So that's like 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. They were checking stop signs. I never got a confirmation on if they got citations, but I know they were up there making stops. For sure, it was probably people in the community that they stopped, but they were doing that. Now, probably most of the time when officers, if you see them and they're looking at stuff, probably half the time they're responding to a call. So like I have my computer in my car, so if they're responding to something, they're looking at this or they're talking to somebody, whatever it may be. But if there is an issue like you're talking about in the alley, that's something you can bring to me. And whatever you're seeing, I can put that out to officers to request extra patrol. I cannot guarantee that they will be able to do it, but a lot of times they can. And I have a couple of officers that I have a pretty good relationship that work the shifts that report back directly to me and tell me, hey, Jenny, you sent that out there. I went and I did this, and this is what I found. If it was nothing, okay, cool. If it was something, hey, I talked to this guy, I field interviewed him, or I cited this person, they'll let me know. So that's something that you can just bring to me, or you can read to Paul or whoever in the meeting, and they always will send it to me, and I can get it out there.
I know we talked to you about the kid with the white mustache.
Oh, yeah, I talked to mom, yeah.
That calmed down for a while, but he's back at it again.
Oh, okay. Well, I hadn't heard that, so thank you for letting me know that, yes. Yeah, maybe I have to go back and talk to mom again, so that was. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
My name is Eric Williams, I'm a resident. Hi, it's nice to see you here. I actually came to see you guys speak, so thank you for being here.
Of course.
When I got the email about the meeting the other day, it did mention a couple of things we're going to speak about, specifically how to, see, I see everyone says see something, say something. What I like about what was sent to me was that it says how to see something, then say something. Because I know a lot of your resources are very streamed right now because everyone's calling for things that are really serious situations, and it's wasted your time and energy. It also says something along, maybe we were gonna speak about this, situational awareness. That was something that was in the list of things that you were gonna speak about. So I was just wondering if you could address that real quick, so that we don't waste your time by victimizing people who are trying to help or whatever. That's what I'm thinking.
I don't think that, I think if you see something that is concerning to you, please let us know. We want to know that. We have officers out there that are trained to determine if you're not sure if it's a crime or not, our officers are trained. So if you see something that seems out of place, it never hurts to call, and we're never gonna, that's our job is for service and provide quality service. So, when in doubt, give us a call. We have dispatchers too that are also trained, that as you're feeding the information, they may ask specific questions to try to see, hey, is there a crime, or what type of potential crime that we might we be looking at? Sure. And then we can send officers out there to evaluate. And if it's not worthy of a crime, we have other avenues and other resources, whether it's through the Get Her Done app, we have parking enforcement and other avenues that we can address as well.
Very good, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My follow-up question is situational awareness. I think it's very important for there not to be a sense of like suspicion around everybody right now. Because I know things are going interesting across the globe right now, and everyone's on high alert on things, and now that's in the media about potential sleeper cells and whatever. We're adults here in the meeting now, the community. We don't want to pigeonhole people unfairly, right? I'm talking about people who maybe from certain demographics or something like that. What is situational awareness? Can you speak? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because it's
I understand what you're talking about.
Yes.
You're talking about a potential, if we perceive something to be like a terrorist threat, or we're basing something based off of race. Is that correct?
Sure.
Yeah, I would say that race in and of itself shouldn't be relied upon as far as making a decision of, hey, we want to have the police come out here and respond to that. That would not be an appropriate way. It would be specific and articulable facts that you see that, hey, we think that there might be some crime that's involved. And so that could be, hey, somebody has a suspicious bag. We've never seen this person around the neighborhood. They leave that bag, and that bag has been unmonitored, and we're concerned that there might be something in there. That would be something for us to respond to. But just somebody, hey, that person is, of a different ethnicity, and we're concerned just because they look out of place. I'm gonna have my sergeant say, we're not going that type of a call. It's not something we respond to.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask, it's a problem, it's a chronic problem, it's not a, it's not a life-threatening problem at all, but I think it's, I wanted to ask you if there's anything that can be done about it. And, on recycling days in Normal Heights, we have people who, know when recycling day is. They make a point of, going to all, as many blue bins, I think, as they can, and taking all of the things that are worth any money out of the blue bins. And I'm sure you've seen them. There's one man who comes to my neighborhood, he can barely push the collection. He's got, it's like a sort of giant, Okay, so my concern is, according to my research, it is actually against the law. And it's taking money from the city, it's taking, that, the things that are being stolen are things of value, and presumably that reduces the revenue to the city for trash services in general. But I don't know if there's any, I don't see any enforcement or I never see anyone, being corrected in this behavior, or, I don't know, and it's a small thing, it's not, it's probably not it's obviously not a very high priority, but I think it's a kind of, hemorrhaging of revenue for the city that goes on, constantly. So I'm just wondering what your take is.
So something like that, normally our police officers are probably not gonna respond to that, or maybe we just don't get a call. But I know in the past, environmental services do have officers that have gone out and actually cited people for that. Now, do they have that ability or budget right now? I don't know, but I know they did used to do that. So they would specifically take that role on, and wherever those complaints were, we would give it to them, and then they'd have their team or whoever go out on those days and see if they can, if they contact somebody, either warning or if appropriate, then give them a cite. So it is something that has been done. I just don't know right now, as far as with their department, if that's a possibility. I can ask.
I did have words with one of the drivers of the trucks that collects trash.
Yeah.
He told me that they've been told not to.
Well, not them, it's a specific
It is a
team that
different
goes out.
team of people.
Yeah, not them,
I
because they
mean,
have to focus on
it's
that.
obviously not a huge priority, but it's something,
Yeah.
it's not right, it's not okay.
Okay, John.
I've made several calls about a person, Hartsville, we're in the same neighborhood. And the police officer well, I don't know if she was a police officer, or she was just a dispatcher, but because it was a non-emergency number. But she said the police don't respond to that. That's environmental services. And I called environmental services and they said, well, we have an officer in a white pickup truck that patrols, and we'll see if we can dispatch him to your area. And I said, well, the guy's out there, he's farther up the street now. And so I went out and was working in my garden, never saw a white pickup truck, and he just kept going right down and looting the camp.
Okay, I'm gonna move to Ramey on Zoom, and then we'll go to Madison.
Okay, so I know that the resources are thin, and there are crimes that are more important than some of the crimes we've been talking about here, and I understand that. So I've also read about citizens on patrol services and how some communities have not deputized people, but have worked hand in hand with volunteer groups that keep their eyes and ears open and report anything that they can then get action on, whether it's immediate, having somebody respond in real time, or they follow up later. So I've also read where some cities it bombs out, it doesn't work very well, and other cities love it and really rely on this citizens patrol. So I'm curious as to the officer's thought on if we could have one of those in Normal Heights and what the success may or may not be if we did have one.
So we actually do have volunteers that help out with our department. We have our RSVP program, which are retired senior volunteers. And they are actually in white vehicles that roll through and they check out if there's any concerns, if somebody's on vacation, checking to make sure that the house is secured. They will just drive around, and if they see something that seems suspicious, they'll call us pretty regularly. I know that we have community watch groups like neighborhood programs, neighborhood watch groups. Talmadge has a pretty robust neighborhood watch group, and they actually have a vehicle that is marked, and they drive around and take volunteer shifts. So we're always looking forward to working in collaboration with our volunteers. They're such a great asset for our department and the community as well. We can't do everything on our own, obviously. We have a finite amount of resources. We have officers that we want to dedicate specifically to your area, but we also have a lot of other neighborhoods that are pulling us in different directions as well. So we do the best that we can, obviously looking for collaboration with that. But we do agree that volunteers and are a huge asset. And one of the ways we use that is through our RSVP program. We have a cadet program, which are junior adults that like to come out and help. And we also have a volunteer program for helping our administrative aides and helping us do our job daily. So we couldn't do that without a collaboration between our community and also the volunteers that serve the department.
Would it be possible for that information for those groups and how to either join or get more information be given to Paul so that he can disseminate that to those of us who are interested?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
My question is just in relation to the agenda as well. There's just a point here in terms of staying safe with encounter federal agents, which I'm assuming is ICE. And wanted to see if and how the department collaborates with ICE, and if they have been in our neighborhood, if they do come to our neighborhood, if the community gets any kind of information regarding that, if there's any guidelines in terms of how to stay safe in any kind of interaction with federal agents, and if someone feels like they're being unlawfully detained, what they should do about that. So I just kind of have a series of questions.
Yes, now I'll answer that for you. So I had talked to Paul about this before I came here, and our department, the mayor released a statement, I think last month, regarding our stance and our cooperation with immigration and federal agents in that regard. We have a strict policy. We're bound by state law, as well as policy, that we do not get involved with federal agents in any way. The caveat to that is, if a federal agent was calling for assistance, like urgent cover, based upon they felt like their life was in danger, we would respond just like we would respond to any citizen that's asking for help. Our job is to protect life and property and so forth. As far as the actual enforcement of immigration, we don't get involved in. We don't share any information with ICE. SB 54 prevents us from doing that. We have the Values Act that prevents us from sharing information. So we are very distant with federal agents that are out there. With that said, because we're not working in collaboration, we don't keep a track on what they're doing in what neighborhoods. They do their own operations separate from us. And every once in a while they'll let us know, hey, we're in your neighborhood. And that's just information in case we had to send resources. But if we do send resources, our job is to make it safe. And then that's it. Our involvement, we then pack up and leave. So I hope that answers your question. As far as tips on how to deal with ICE, I would just, we don't provide training on that. Again, we stay distant with federal agents, but what I would recommend, and just similar like I would any of our own officers, they are a law enforcement agency. They have federal powers. We can't intervene and stop the federal agency from doing their job. They were prohibited by federal law from doing that anyways, regardless of how we feel. So as far as being safe, I would give the same instructions. If you get stopped by a law enforcement officer and they tell you to do something, I would do it. If you felt like San Diego PD unlawfully detained you, go with the program, and at the end of the contact, once everything is safe and it's done, you can always go through and make a complaint process through us. If we were the ones that were in violation of a lawful detention, in an opinion. The federal agencies have a complaint process similar to the San Diego Police Department. I would defer you to their complaint process in dealing with that, but that would be my recommendation.
And if a citizen is in what they feel is an unsafe encounter, the same way you said that you would respond if agents had contacted you for assistance and citizens could contact you if they felt unsafe. Is that correct?
We are there to protect life, but if federal agents are making an arrest, that citizen could feel unsafe. We are not going to interfere with another law enforcement agency making an arrest, if that's your question.
More around safety. I'll have the board members ask their questions.
Sure.
A couple, they can.
Yeah, why don't we just go around the table?
Do a little answer.
I was just wondering, is that the case, even if there's a circumstance, like there are times where ICE violates like federal law in the process of making an arrest? Is that something that you cannot get involved with, if that happens? Like if they like enter someone's home, without the correct like documentation or warrants or like anything like that? Is that something that you can?
Yeah, we do not investigate any complaints regarding ICE. So if you felt like your rights were violated, just like if in any other agency, if it was Chula Vista Police Department and you felt your rights were violated, we're not going to intercede and take that complaint or do any enforcement to prevent Chula Vista PD from that detention. So it's similar with other agencies. Again, what I would recommend is once everything is done and in the heat of the moment, tensions flare, at that point, you can then go ahead and make a complaint, which is the same advice I give for San Diego PD if it was one of us that was in that position. Hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you.
Cool. I'm Kenny. My question is, when you talk about protection, so if someone is clearly physically in distress, like they've been shot by a rubber bullet, and nobody in that other agency appears to be taking them seriously, goes back to the George Floyd thing. Help me, I'm to die. And no one steps up and the person dies. How do you, and I'm not this isn't at you. How does the department reconcile doing nothing and someone dies 10 feet away?
Well, I'm not saying that we wouldn't do anything. Like if somebody is obviously hurt, we're gonna go ahead and do what we need to do to make sure we get medical care. So again, our stance is to protect life. That always comes first. However, other agencies have different policies on force, just like we have different policies than other agencies. And there is a review process through federal agencies and how they look at force. And so what you're describing is an incident of force. So if somebody who's obviously needed medical attention, we would provide that if we're on scene. Our job is to make sure that the scene is safe, and then we remove ourselves from the situation because we don't want any interaction or any appearance that we are working with ICE and or immigration in any way.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, yes.
I want to, with all that in mind, what can individual citizens ask of SDPD in case of some sort of ICE encounter, or if they're acceptable to ask an officer to be present and observe? Is it acceptable to help on like cases of injury or harm, or what would be issues to the city that you can respond to?
Yeah, and could you repeat the question for our Zoom callers? No, I'm sorry, Tyler, if you just rephrase it.
So the gentleman asks, what if a civilian can contact police to kind of be there to keep eyes on and make sure that it doesn't get dangerous? Is that does that summarize your question?
What can we ask?
I mean, I think it's okay to contact police at any time. I don't want to ever discourage the police, involvement. That would go to our supervisor to kind of evaluate, because again, with ICE encounters, we don't want the appearance that we're cooperating or helping in any way, so we're trying to keep our distance. If a situation starts to become elevated where we feel like life is in danger, we were going to send officers to respond. We are always available if you want to talk to a supervisor or a lieutenant who's present to have a conversation on scene. We will always send somebody out to have those conversations and discuss concerns. But whether we're going to keep officers on scene while the federal agents are doing what they're doing, generally they operate without telling us what they're doing. They just do what they're going to do. And then we respond as a result of a violent encounter where, again, life is in danger. That would be when we would respond. If you call us to say, hey, can you stand by and watch ICE again, our job is not to interfere or stop law enforcement, federal law enforcement from interceding. They have their job to do. We are bound by federal law. We cannot stop ICE from doing what they need to do. They have a different mission than we do. And so I hope that answered your question.
Yes.
I think just to clarify and follow up on that point is, so as an observer, like if you're just walking by, could we call SPD, oh my gosh, sorry, it's been a long day, SDPD to de-escalate if we saw that we thought like life was at risk? Or is that not within your jurisdiction?
We may send an officer just to evaluate, because I think there's different perceptions of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So again, it would get routed through a supervisor to evaluate whether we're going to send somebody. That supervisor has the discretion of sending an officer to get eyes on and to find out. Generally, when those distress signs come, they come from the federal agencies that are saying that, hey, we're in a life or death situation, and they're asking for urgent cover. And so we would respond to cover any law enforcement agency throughout the county in that regard.
Just to clarify, by cover, you mean to have a presence for protection of life, not necessarily just the officer.
Correct. It would be a urgent exigent circumstance that we would have to get involved. So we're not coming to help immigration in any way. We're not like a cover. When I say cover, if we were to make a traffic stop and Officer Hall was to cover me, that is another term of cover. But I'm specifically referring to that law enforcement agency feels like their life is in danger, and we have to intercede to bring peace in that environment.
What I'm hearing, and if I'm sorry, maybe I'm mishearing, is it sounds like it's only when the officer themselves feels like their life is in danger versus if someone as a citizen feels like their life is in danger.
No, like I stated to this gentleman here, if you feel like, hey, I feel like my life is in danger, you can always contact San Diego Police Department. We have supervisors there that are evaluating those situations, and we'll make that decision at the time. There's a lot of different perspectives and what does it mean for somebody's life to be in danger. And so that's why we have supervisors to make those decisions. That's why we have field lieutenants. We're not just going to send somebody just because ICE is on scene. So it would have to be something where that supervisor says, hey, this is a life or death situation, we're going to go ahead and send officers. But we have supervisors that evaluate whether we're going to deploy officers in situations that are dealing with ICE. It is a sensitive matter. We are trying to stay out of it as much as we can, unless life is becoming a problem. So obviously, if somebody said, hey, I was just shot, and ICE is here and I got shot, we're going to respond to something like that. That's something where life is involved, and we're going to go and make that scene safe.
I have a hypothetical question. You don't even have to answer this because it's not in your purview. I understand this. Would you say that it's the best suggestion whenever we see an ICE presence and there's a scene that's created among that agency, the federal agency, never to try to physically intervene in that situation? Because that is what provokes a lot of these responses from that agency, rubber bullets or other projectiles, as we've seen in recent history. Never to try to be a hero in that case, and then follow proper procedure and wait for it to end. If someone gets hurt, yes, you contact contact 911 for medical assistance and police presence at that point for the safety of life. But beyond that, you wait and then you report through the proper procedure after it's over. As soon as anyone's involved in that situation, I'm a master's of social work. I understand some of this stuff, okay, that maybe someone's not mentioning. Whenever there's a proper procedure involved in this, and sometimes we don't have to like the power structure, but there's an echelon of this. You have a very strong force. We appreciate you being here, but you cannot ask them to intervene in that, and none of us have the ability to intervene in that. We do not have protections at that point. We put ourselves at risk, and we provoke that agency, and we see how they can respond if we are engaging in intervening in a federal operation that is very sensitive. So I suggest not to intervene physically, but through the proper channels. There's a lot that they don't know, and you know that they know, and that you know that we don't know. We are citizens, and we need to follow proper procedure in order to stay safe, in order so that tragedy doesn't happen in our neighborhood. Just a question.
Was there a question?
Those are all documents.
Okay,
I'm trying to pick it up the outright and speak about it.
thank you.
No, thank you.
If there's no questions, yes.
It's not a question, it's just a quick comment. I do know that there are like different like networks that if like you do see ICE in a neighborhood, it's like not police related, it's just like community related. You can like notify the network and they'll like send messages out to let people know in the area that there's like ICE in the area. So that's one way to get involved and like help keep people safe. And I can try to find that information. Maybe we can put it somewhere publicly disseminate. Yeah.
Okay.
On that note, are there any other suggestions from the department in terms of how to stay safe or what to do, what not to do? And any beyond kind of some of the points you mentioned?
I mean, what this gentleman says, I don't disagree with anything that he said. Again, you have, it gets tricky because there's First Amendment protections. So I can't tell you, don't show up when ICE is there. You have First Amendment protections. You have the right to film. It's similar to if we were dealing with the protest. But if it was our officers on the line and you begin interfering and we're making an arrest, then there's a high likelihood that you're going to have force used on you, and there's a high likelihood you end up going to jail. So what the federal agency's standpoint and what their agency's policies and procedures are, I can't speak on, but I would just use caution. Know your First Amendment rights. You're able to exercise those First Amendment rights, but like this gentleman was talking about, interfering with a law enforcement agency can only end in a bad situation. If after everything is said and done, you feel like I was mistreated, the officer was discourteous, he violated my rights, there is a complaint process similar to how the San Diego Police Department has a complaint process, and I would encourage you to execute that complaint process.
If I may,
Yes.
And that's just me speaking as me, not representing where I'm sitting.
That's always the case.
I want some way to show people that weren't born with my privilege that I'm there for them. And I feel completely trapped and I can't show people that weren't born with my privilege that I'm there for them. And at some point, I was homeless as a teenager. So I've been on the streets. I don't look like it now. Now I own a house and privilege is back. But I was a scrapper and I went to jail a lot and I was fine with that. At some point, there's going to be a tipping point because the lack of trust in that other agency and their untrained members is exhausting. And none of us are saying it, or anyone who may or may not agree with me is, because I think we're all trying to be polite, but I'm exhausted. And I want to show people who weren't born with my privilege that they're not alone. So, and you don't even have to address that. I'm just, at some point, vigilantes are going to show up because we're exhausted. Have you all talked about that and what comes next when the citizenry is just done with the unlawful the actions of another agency with people who have zero training? You too, clearly. I mean, just the way you speak, you have training. You have community mindedness that appears, in my opinion, to be first. And I don't see that at all from this other group. Like, I'm not traveling outside of San Diego for a long time because I feel safest here. But if you have back office meetings that none of us will ever be aware of about what do you do when all the citizens stand. Well, I'm just saying, because there's no way you can answer. I'm sorry, but I feel like it needs to go on record.
I'm just a lieutenant here, but I can say as we have.
Don't say just. I mean, you're doing something that I could never do. No, I'm not even kidding.
And I think the community actually looks to you as a place of help when we feel the same way. I'm just a citizen, I'm just a neighbor. Can I call my lieutenant to help de-escalate or to help like take some action or witness, or when it comes time for that complaint process, you hear about these stories of that even not being done properly. So, you know, I think that's a fair question and a good call out to not say just, because, yeah.
And what I mean is the chief of police and the chiefs of police throughout the county have conversations that happen closed doors that are probably in line with that. Obviously, our immigration policy that the mayor put out reflects upon where we stand as far as immigration. The county put out similar information regarding where their agency's standing forward. So I know there's conversations that happen. Do we have discussions at my level of what other agencies are doing? No, that's not occurring. Our job is, if we, in these conversations have taken place, if we have an immigration incident and it escalates to a life-threatening situation, how are we gonna send officers out there to make sure that that scene is safe? And that is our priority. Our priority is the community, making sure that officers are handling the calls that are out there that you guys are bringing to our attention, dealing with the community complaints. That is a priority for us. It is a priority for us to make our citizens safe. But we can't step in and cross over into the federal and stop federal agencies from doing what they do. So we will always show up to make the scene safe, but our involvement with the federal agencies are distant as much as we can.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the closing question here in two parts. First of all, budgets are tight. The mayor's asking for what's our priorities. Is there any way we can help you in that regard?
That is a great question. I would just say that you guys have a voice with city council and continue to voice your expectations with the city council and what you want. There are going to be cuts that the mayor's looking at, and so that's still ongoing, and I can't comment on that. You know, obviously, we need officers out in the field in order to make your guys' community safe. Without having officers out there and having the technology out there to do that enforcement, and sir, you brought up technology and officers using technology. We have a really robust technological advancement that's occurred that allows our officers to use intelligence-based policing that helps us target crime and makes it very effective to make our community safe. So our chiefs put out that crime has been trending down and in a substantial way. Our homicide rate is less than it has been since the 1950s. So we're committed to making communities safe. We can't do that without having law enforcement. And so just take that in consideration as you make your pleas before the city council.
Sure. Good. Go ahead, because I have one after.
Okay. With that, and the technology and knowing AI and how that's evolved, have there been any policies that, you know, your agency has put together to, I guess, in the vendor selection, making sure of like profiling or anything like that? Because I guess my concern with AI is that it's not, we've developed something without the full ethic and moral compass behind it, understanding how it works, and it may hurt other communities that are already targeted. And so hearing that there's certain technologies that are helping the police department and potentially using AI, what type of parameters or governance do you have as an agency to ensure that?
That's a great question. So all technologies that we use have to get approved by the city council. So, and they are publicly disclosed on the city council website or on the City of San Diego webpage. So you can go on and look and see what technologies that we use and what type of tools that we use for our use, but we can't do that without having city council approval.
Okay, that's very helpful.
Sure. Closing question. What are you reading, and do you have any reading recommendations?
What am I reading? Actually, currently I'm reading a book on law enforcement suicide, so that's
Yes.
what I'm focused on right now.
I'll take that not as a recommendation.
I'm not reading anything currently, but I do have a book that my kids bought me for Christmas. It's some kind of murder mystery, so that's what I like reading. So I'll be diving into that soon. That's my next thing.
Is it a dark, wet Nordic mystery? Or
no.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming, and we really appreciate it. And if there's anything that you guys need, you know where to contact the community.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have one more board member just joined via Zoom. Hi, Matthew. You now have your placard next to the Zoom owl. Oh, I saw him, he disappeared. Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay. All right, next update on sidewalk committee. Did you want to say anything, or we're just ongoing?
I think we're kind of, well, at this point, I'm not quite sure what the next steps are.
Okay, well, we're basically using the data to, first of all, submit a lot of GIDs where we can. And then the next step would be looking at those clusters and seeing if there's something that the city can help us with. And I think we also talked about looking at ones that are outside commercial properties that might have the resources to actually do a sidewalk repair.
I mean, it seems like, based on the emails we've gotten from the city, it seems like they're not gonna be very helpful. I'm thinking we may want to just give up on any help from the city, because I just didn't get the sense that there was any real, anything that they would be willing to do. Maybe you're more optimistic than I am.
I think the asphalt fill is probably the best we can get from them.
Yeah, which they do all around the neighborhood, but it's not terribly useful.
Okay. Well,
I've found instances where they come in and put the asphalt in and it's actually worse than what it is.
yes, we've seen that. Comprehensive speed management plan. Did you have somebody sent me, they wanted to make a comment on that?
I sent a link to it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. And it's mentioned in the mayor's office's status report, so I'll discuss it when I get to that point, because I'll have Fatima's input, and she has some specifics. Next up is approval of the January minutes. I think we had a change for February.
Are we in March?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, February minutes. Nancy was added to the attendance on that. I think that's,
I was looking at the wrong side of it.
oh,
I got the right side.
okay. Do we have a motion to approve? Or, yeah,
Motion to approve.
okay.
Second.
And all in favor of approval? Okay. Let me know when you have your count. And on Zoom, we have Emily and Matthew. Do you say yay, nay, or abstain?
Yay from Emily.
Okay. And Matthew?
Yay. Yeah, yay.
Okay. Then moving on to the nays. No nays, abstain?
Abstain.
Oh,
abstain, yeah.
I was reading that question.
Is that absent?
That wasn't here, yeah.
Absent, okay. Right, so three abstains for absence. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Next up is, shall the board endorse and send a letter suggested by the Community Planners Committee entitled "A Seat at the Table." So this was sent out in an email before. It basically says that since planning groups are chartered by the city, that they should have time at council meetings and subcommittee meetings at the city without having to compete in the public comment space. Any questions?
So would we just be signing on to the letter that the CPG wrote?
They provided us a boilerplate.
So we're just using.
Yeah, same thing. So I guess, do we have a motion to send the letter? Okay, Francis for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ask him for a second. Take it to a vote. All in favor?
Paul, could I make one comment just before we vote?
Yes.
Sorry, this is Emily. I would just ask for one edit. I know there was the boilerplate letter, and I don't mean to cause any changes, but One thing in the letter is it did indicate that developers in their presentations are not subject to the like 2-minute speaking rule, but that actually isn't the case. They do still have to assemble people in the room for presentation. And I do think that's an important distinction to make. I'm in full support of the motion and of sending the letter, but I just think it strengthens the argument if we're working with correct facts.
Okay, there was a little gap in what you said about developers have extended time for presentations.
They are subject to the same rules as the public. So I think the letter asserts that developers are not subject to those rules, but they are. We still, like if I'm there as part of an applicant team, as a part of a presentation, they still need to have everybody in the room raise their hand, donate their 2 minutes to a presentation, the same way that the community planning group or other organized groups do.
Okay, then let's modify the motion to eliminate the reference to developer presentations. Is that, did that fill
Yes.
your ask? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Then at this point, we'll go ahead and take it to a vote for an amended letter. And Nancy, are you in favor? Okay, and on the line, so that looks like unanimous in the room.
In favor as well.
Okay, and Matthew?
Also in favor.
Okay, looks like that's unanimous. At this point, we will close the election. So are there any more ballots? Go ahead and pass them up. Do we have a volunteer vote counter who's not voting? Is anybody in the room not voting? You've just nominated yourself as vote counter. There you go. There's a whole kit for you. Thank you. And while the votes are being counted, we'll go through our community updates. The first one is the community garden of the, there was a submission for a grant through AARP submitted today. We'll hope to hear back in May. The ask was to fund the ADA compliance pathways and the waist high boxes and signage. So the total ask came to a little over $9,000. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. Keep it up and grab it, sweat handy. The next up with the city is getting a right of access, which will allow us to do work on the garden in terms of the build without having ranger supervision. In the meantime, we can do events, but we have to have, a ranger has to unlock the gate for us and then lock up behind us, probably maybe babysit us, but we can't do it on the weekends because that would be overtime for park staff. So once we get the ROE, we can start doing events on weekends again. And that right of entry will lead up to a special use permit, and that's the permanent permit. Well, it's renewed every 3 years, I think, that lets us use the space much in the way a Little League would use the ball field. Okay. Next up is government representation from city, county, state, and federal. So I'll start with city. I have the comments here. Percent. Okay. Start with the comment. The mayor's report. So from Mayor Todd Gloria's office, first up is the resident budget survey. If you haven't done that, I recommend doing it. It's basically asking you what your top priorities for protection against budget cuts. So anyway, that's the URL is sandiego.gov/budget survey. We'll be posting that on our website as well, or you can just email us if you have any questions, can't find it. The next key budget update is March 10th. City Council reviews the 5-year capital infrastructure planning outlook and related report by the independent budget analyst. So that'll look at the capital infrastructure planning, what the impacts are. Comprehensive speed management plan. The city is looking to reduce vehicle speeds in areas that are allowed to under state law in alignment with their Vision Zero. I think we heard about that in public comment. The interesting thing here is the analysis found over 20% of San Diego's roadways qualify, including high pedestrian and bicyclist activity corridors. I don't know if Adams Avenue qualifies as that. It does? Okay.
Yeah, Adams Avenue, out to Home Boulevard, and 35th Street up to Adams Avenue.
Okay. Excellent. Business activity districts, Adams Avenue. And then school zones and school approach. I hadn't heard of that before. School zone speeds of 15 to 20, and then school approach 25. I think school zones are currently rated at 25, which always seemed kind of high. And in zone 0, we've heard about that from our Normal Heights Fire Safe Council, basically making sure there's not brush within 5 feet of your home to reduce the ignition of structures. There is a way to request a wildfire risk assessment through sandiego.gov/defensible space. I believe there is a fee for that. And then the city was just awarded $5 million for gun and gang violence. So that is Mayor's office. From Office of Senator Weber Pearson, our state senator is having a taco and taxes event, which is a small resource fair, and it will help you get your taxes prepared. And it's on Saturday, March 14th, and an appointment is required, and we'll make sure to get this onto our website for the links. They're also asking for nominations for Senior of the Year and Nonprofit of the Year. And the deadline for that is March 31st. And the last item is legislation being introduced to require CPR and AED training for high school graduation. As per usual, introduced legislation has a long path to go. And do we have any other government representatives with us today? Application. Local organizations, AABA, Alcohol Boulevard Business Association, Normal Heights Community Association, Normal Heights Urban Arts, Adams Community Rec Advisory Group.
Our next meeting for March is going to be postponed until after that. And that they had on Saturday, they had the opening day of the Little League. And they put, before that, they put new turf in where the bases are.
Okay.
they're gonna have a spring stuff coming up, so that's one reason, another reason we're not having a meeting. Spring break.
Okay.
But we need more members, we have very short of members. So if anybody wants to join the advisory group, they have to be members. That's it.
Normal Heights for Smart Growth. The main thing was just working on the garden and getting the grant submitted. Ongoing meetings for the garden, really. Standing committees, Mid-City Community Plan Update Committee.
Yes, so we had our last meeting was last Wednesday, and we covered basically a summary of their phase 2 engagement. So basically all the efforts that the city's been doing to get input. They've had pop-ups, they summarized the number of comments they've received so far, things like that. And then we also got into a discussion of the draft mobility concepts, and they're saying that we'll have a full draft of the plan update this spring. So stay tuned for that. As part of the mobility discussion, I did raise the great data points from the sidewalk committee, so thank you. I pointed out the 388 instances and recommended that they add a policy to the community plan to work on not just investing in new sidewalk infrastructure, but maintenance and hopefully finding some funding for existing sidewalks, particularly in our 100-year-old neighborhood. One thing that was kind of repeatedly brought up also by public commenters, there was discussions about locations of bike lanes. The city in their draft mobility concepts did not identify any bike lane. Well, they identified a class 3 bike lane on Adams Avenue, which is basically like what we have now with the arrow. And there was some public comment wanting bike lanes, but there was also sensitivity about parking. So as we progress through the plan update, I think that just might be something that we might want to have a position on. I chose not to voice one way or another since I'm the planning group representative. But that was just something that I was hearing a lot related to Adams Avenue specifically. And I think our next meeting will be sometime in May, but no date has been set yet.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for promoting the sidewalks.
Paul, can I follow up?
Yeah.
Yeah, Emily, I'm opposed to the bike lane on Adams, but we did suggest at one point, and I forget in what context this came up, that on Northeast and West Mountain View, it's wide enough where you can add a bike lane without taking out parking. And that may be something that could be useful. I granted it's not the same as Adams because it's a roundabout sort of thing. But that may be something to think about in terms of bike lanes in the community plan.
Yes, and they did have that identified for a future bike lane in there already. So yeah, no, great suggestion, and it's in there. Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Probably got 2 people.
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
I just had a quick question. This may be in the news as well, but there was an update on getting parking meters on Adams Avenue installed as well. I wasn't sure if that also related to the mid-city plans or if that was separate. But did that already?
I think the meters are separate from the community plan. Community plan is set for the strategic vision, and then that feeds capital improvement projects and budgets and spends, whereas the parking meters is a done deal in terms of spend and rollout.
Was that something? Like I said, it's probably old news. Is that something we were at all involved with?
No. That's actually a point of contention among a lot of communities, is that they weren't consulted. It's been, the consultation has been after the fact. So Shawnee LaRivera met with the AABA because it's, squarely in their wheelhouse. There was over 60 people attending, and it's not so much opposition, but shaping, like my hair salon needs a 3-hour window, or We need the ability for someone to pull up and get the cup of coffee and leave quickly, those kinds of things. So they're trying to work through the details.
Spill over into the parking situation of the neighboring streets and for people outside of the, that are trying to avoid the.
What is that?
It's a bank.
Should we take a break?
We gotta finish up quick. Well, then, a historical property review. Oh, sorry. What? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question, and then also to kind of help you with your question. The parking meters usually aren't part of the community plan. Community plan will be like more zoning and long-term capital that is related to zoning. Like if we're gonna turn a two-way street to a one-way street, for example. And then my question to whoever gave the report was, where she says that we're gonna have a full draft, is that just the mobility plan or the full community plan by this group?
Oh, for Emily.
Did you hear?
Are we doing, let me make sure. People did not
Yeah.
follow that.
I think I heard the question. I'm getting the elote man, but I think the question was, is it just a draft mobility or is it a full draft plan, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so to answer your question, it will be a full community plan, and then the mobility element is a chapter within that plan. So the draft will be the whole thing, and that's supposed to be coming this spring.
Okay. Then historic property.
Well, I don't have much to report. I made note of 3470 Monroe Avenue. The reason why it is extremely important, it's a Huffman six pack.
Oh.
And I think Howell Freeze over City of San Diego will consider designating a Huffman six pack. Having said that, however, at least in the state of California, maybe beyond, there are a number of historians and people who write books. I can name a few, like the historian Alan Hess. There's other ones as well, Charles Phoenix, who really go on about good examples of that type of architecture, examples of space age design.
Okay.
That sort of thing. This one will qualify for satisfying those guys.
What year was it built?
This place here, I guess this was from the 60s, maybe 70s, but it's been modified also.
Probably 70s or 80s,
Yeah.
What was the address again?
It is 3470 Monroe.
3470 Monroe.
But it is a 45-year review
Yeah.
site.
Okay.
I'm not going to respond to the city, but I just thought I would throw that out there, that there is some interest in these buildings if they're in pristine condition.
Yeah, makes sense.
What is a Huffman six pack?
It's
Huffman was a person.
It's a block, yes. It's a block of apartments. They're characterized by our parts in the front, parking area, above it, the apartments of that. They're also referred.
Okay.
All the doors are on the same side.
Yeah.
It's 6 or 8 units, 3 up, 3 down, 4 up, 4 down. It's parking in front, back in back. Sorry.
And they're, besides it being referred to as the Huffman six pack, they're referred to as dingbats.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
It's more of an LA term.
It's more of an LA term.
Oh, yeah.
But a dingbat would have, let's say a light fixture on the front, it's the starburst. And would have stone facade with a lot of glitter.
Dean Martin.
Yeah. And they typically, not always, but especially the so-called dingbits, they're named after somebody. The Betty Sue, the Judy Ann, you know. They're all over, those type of ones are all over San Diego. Apartments with the name across it, the font, a very distinctive font.
That's kind of coming back. I've seen
And-
some renovations where the units have been renamed,
Yes.
but they've kept a similar sort of script font or,
That's right.
you know, giving that space age edge.
Anyway, I bring it up more as fun than as anything that is, especially this one, potentially.
Okay. Last item is utility undergrounding.
So just a brief update, we did ask for an update on the timing from city staff. Our block 3DD, which is the northeastern portion of Adams, is at 90% design. And so once they hit 100, that's when they'll transition into the construction phase. So things are moving along there. And then block 3BB, which is the next area to be done, is in 30% design. So city staff did say that residents may see like surveyors and other engineers, people in the area while they're doing their design and coordination. And then they'll do a pre-design meeting when they get to 60% for some community engagement for that area. And then no update on the MAD formation side of things. I know, Francis, I'll shoot you an email and we'll coordinate.
Okay. Any other comments, suggestions? We're adjourned. Happy tacos. Oh, you know, we have the count. Yeah, the full slate was elected 7-7. So welcome, Minhao. Minhao, welcome. Next month you'll be sitting up here. Thank you. And thank you for the vote count.
Yeah.